All right, as mentioned earlier, let's get into this particular interview now as we look at the South African delegation from the South African Police Service that is preparing itself to head to France. How will they then, be deployed, and how are they going to be able to investigate the circumstances? What can they expect as soon as they land? So let's help understand some of the processes that might be involved here. We speak to policing expert and senior lecturer in the Police Practice Department at UNISA, Professor Dumisani Mabunda. Prof, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. So, as this team is preparing itself to leave, what rules, one wonders, govern the work of foreign police investigators in another country?
Good evening, Bongiwe, and good evening, viewers. There is a body called Interpol, International Police Organization. South African Police Service hosted an event a few weeks ago in Cape Town involving all Interpol members. I'm not so sure if France is one of the Interpol members, but that aside, we appreciate the fact that the National Commissioner has dispatched a team to France to try and unravel the sad situation that have befallen our ambassador, which affects the family. So for the family to find closure, they must be convinced that no stone is left unturned to enable them to have closure on this situation.
So what awaits then the police, the South African police, when they get there, as far as that is concerned? Will they have carte blanche access to the documents?
Yeah, that's a good question, Bongiwe. My concern is that it took a while before our police officers were dispatched to that part of the world. My expertise as a former crime scene expert is that when there's a crime, the place is cordoned off, and the forensic investigation is conducted, and only after the investigation has been concluded that people will have access to that scene. Now, in our situation, we have a situation where the French police have conducted their investigation. Now our police officers, when they get there, it is not clear what they will be doing, because the scene may have been tampered, not necessarily been tampered, but the investigation has already been conducted by another law enforcement agency. What I suppose the South African police delegation will do is try to get a clear picture as to how the scene looked like when it eventually took place. So it will be sort of like hearsay, because they will not be getting into that scene as first responders.
So I suppose then the hearsay, if I'm listening to you correctly, is going to come from the dockets that have already been compiled by the French police, and they will then be relying on that information?
Yeah, that's the only thing that will happen, because they won't start their investigation from zero. So they will rely on the investigation that has already been conducted. In terms of access to the docket, that I doubt will happen, because each and every policing agency have got their processes and policies. So what I suppose will happen is just to brief the South African delegation as to what transpired, what happened when they first visited the place where the incident took place. Otherwise, it will all be hearsay. If they are unfortunate to even have access to the docket, then it will become difficult for them to bring something tangible back home, because I think the scene has already been tampered with by first responders.
Sure. It sounds like some challenges then lie ahead for this particular delegation. So apart from the docket and the crime scene tempering, what else are they likely to encounter as part of challenges?
Yeah, we don't want to preempt. What we hope is that the picture that they will bring home will assist the family to at least have closure to what has happened. Other than that, there is nothing else that can happen because they will not reconstruct the scene. If they were able to reach France immediately, which is impossible, immediately when the incident took place, then they would have conducted their investigation together with the French authorities. But now I think it is too late to do that.
So as you speak about French authorities, right, so is it possible that maybe after the briefing that they will get from them, then they start to work side by side, maybe visiting the different places that they would have visited? Is that a possibility at all?
Yeah, that can be possible. The hope that I have is to have access to a communication gadgets that was used before the incident, to be able to extract that information themselves. Because if they get it from the French authority, there will also be conspiracy theories that the phones have been tampered with. But fortunately, from what we hear from the media is that the video cameras that are around the place of incident do not show any possible second person. So that is very, very key.
Yeah.
That will assist the police to come to their conclusion.
As a final one then, Prof, what advice would you give to Team South Africa, as we do understand that they are still going to leave? So what should then, they look out for before they leave, and to be able to make things easier for them that side?
I think what will help Bongi is for them to be allowed access to the room where the incident took place, and to be able to look at, because we hear that the window could only open to a certain level, so that they can be able to view the place. But in terms of fingerprints, as an expert, it will mean that the French authority have already taken fingerprints from that window, and they can conclude that the fingerprints that we find in this window is from the deceased. If they find other fingerprints that don't belong to the deceased, then the investigation will continue. Obviously, that other person will then be identified through fingerprints. And in the room there, the French authority will also brief the South African police to say, this is what we have found, besides the cell phones and other belongings.
Prof, appreciate your time and for at least just giving us a sense of how these things work. Do appreciate it. That was a policing expert and senior lecturer in the police practice department at UNISA, Professor Dumisani Mabunda.